Hi and welcome to my channel. I am FIDE Master Ingvar Jóhannesson from Iceland, and we're going to be looking at game number 11 in the World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen, the reigning world champion, and Fabiano Caruana, the challenger from the United States. We're tied 5-5, only 2 games to go, so this is Carlsen's last crack at the white pieces, because in the last round he will have the black pieces. Now, Carlsen opened with e4, sort of finishing the circle because, well, he's played c4 2 times, d4 2 times, and now e4 for the second time. And so far, he hasn't been getting much with the white pieces. When he played d4 upon the queen's pawn, he was met with the queen's gambit declined. Excellent preparation by Caruana, and Carlsen didn't get nowhere. First game with c4. Yeah, also didn't get much. Got some edge in the second game, which was probably Carlsen's best game with white, but he felt probably that it was just a one-game weapon, so he's going back to e4 and e5. We have, as expected, knight f3 and knight f6, the Petroff. Of course, the Petroff was to be expected, like we said in the first game, where the Petroff was played. This has been Caruana's main weapon, sort of, in getting to the World Championship match, so no surprises there. After d6, Carlsen now went for the main line. He went with knight to f3. The more adventurous souls would take on f7, the Cochrane gambit, and in his previous e4 game, Carlsen went back to d3. Didn't get much. In the end, this was game 6, and he ended up actually defending the game where Caruana had the study-like win with bishop to h4. But now we have the main line. Okay, knight takes e4. Here d4 is the most common move, but knight c3 is sort of the modern way to battle this line. White accepts double pawns, but sort of like in the Rosolimo, Carlsen takes away from the center, and this is to speed up development of his knight, which would often come to e3 or f4. So let's see, bishop to e7, black wants to get castled. Sometimes in this line, black will castle queenside, maybe with moves such as knight c6, bishop e6, queen to d7, and then he goes for queenside castling. But in this game, Caruana just castles. Queen d2, knight d7, long castles, and now knight e5 is the main move. But here sort of we get into the infamous league gate, if you will. So we're going to have a look at the screenshot from the now famous Caruana leaked video, where he was filmed during preparations, and this screenshot of his computer accidentally, most likely, it could be a bluff. I don't think it's a bluff though. But this screenshot got leaked, and as you can see, if you go to where it says, I think line 11, it says Petroff with knight d7 and f6 idea. So this is very relevant. And this is what appeared on the board. And obviously you would expect Magnus to have something up his sleeve then against this idea, because, well, it's been sort of leaked that it was his preparation. It's a little bit relevant because this idea is not very common. It's an idea that was developed by a Russian grandmaster, then played by his pupil, Kostanyuk. And then this was actually played against Caruana. How Yifan played it. I made a video about this game on my channel. I will link to that video. But it seems like Caruana was impressed by the idea played by Ho Yifan, and he covered this idea with knight d7 f6. But Carlsen should know what to do. He played bishop d3 in the original game between Caruana and Ho Yifan. Caruana played h3, but here bishop to d3 was played by Carlsen. c5. This is the idea of black. And this sort of, okay, at the moment this is a backward pawn, but this gives black some flexible options, especially if you can push d5 at the right moment. Then his position will be very free. And we're also cutting off some squares for white. You're not going to be able to put a piece on d4, be it a knight or a bishop. And also in some cases we might think about pushing and restricting the bishop on d3. For now, Carlsen centralizes his rooks, bishop to e6, and king to b1. Sort of a prophylactic move. At the moment, black can't really take this. But king b1 is often in Sicilian with opposite side castling. And in this position, king b1 is played sort of just as a prophylactic move. But bishop g5 is a move and has been played. Even in some high profile games, such as Giri played it against Motilev. And Karakin against Hare Krishna. Both relatively recent games in 2016 and 2017. But after king b1, queen a5 by Fabi. And now the attack on a2 becomes a real issue for white. You have to deal with it. You can play b3, a3 or c4. b3 perhaps unnecessarily weakens the position. I hadn't really added the line here to talk about this, but it seems to me just at first glance that a move such as c4 would be tempting, threatening to triple the pawns. And if not, if you play b4, then I just play queen a4, then I open up the a file. This will activate this rook. White can't allow this. a3 also seems like it's excessively giving black a hook for his attack to push forward with b5, b4. So Carlsen opted for c4, which puts a stop to any pawn advance, blocks the attack on a2, but also offers a queen trade, which Fabiano accepted. And yeah, this turned out to be, I think, preparation by Carlsen. But after h6, here knight to h4 was a little bit criticized. I'm not sure why. I mean, white has a little pull in most cases. Slightly more space. He does have double pawns, but okay, this is a weakness. And we do have slightly better development, already centralized rooks, and our bishops are slightly more active. But knight h4, I think the main idea is to try to gain one of the bishops and grab the bishop pair. And after rook f2 e8, Carlsen played a tricky move here, knight to g6. Which of course means that, yeah, if you take on g6, I will capture your then undefended bishop on e6. And white can claim an edge here, definitely. Well, more than an edge, actually. He's much better. But knight g4 was played here. And this does allow white to grab the bishop pair, which he did with knight takes e7. And against, yeah, suboptimal defense, maybe white can make something of the two bishops. Let's see if we get suboptimal defense by Caruana so far in this match. That has not been the case. White had to start by taking care of these pawns. Yeah, he didn't really have a choice. He played rook e2. Of course, if you take this pawn, it's a poison pawn. Take this pawn on h2. I will trap your knight. You don't have any way out. And then I will simply attack it and win it. So what Fabiano did here was to play knight to e5. And yeah, this comes with a double attack. Sort of a double attack. You're attacking this pawn and you're also threatening to win or eliminate the white's bishop pair. Now, unfortunately for white, he doesn't have a way to save the bishop pair, so he played bishop to f4, anticipating the capture on d3. And of course, Fabiano took on d3. You can't take on c4, but then you will drop the d6 pawn in return. For instance, if you take this, well, this is actually a blunder because you have an undefended rook. Actually, taking on c4 is a blunder because the rook is undefended in both cases. So there's no taking on c4, but knight takes d3. Here, you could undouble the pawns with pawn takes d3, but it doesn't seem like much. Let's say you take with the pawn, which Carlsen didn't do. He took with the rook. I think black is very, very much fine here. We'll just play d5 at an opportune moment. Maybe we'll play b6 first and bring a rook to a d file, and then play d5 for opposite color bishops. No real weaknesses, no problems. So Carlsen prefers to take with the rook. Of course, we still have this pin here, so black can't take on c4. Plays rook d7 on pinning, and this opens an attack on this pawn. So black doesn't mind white taking here, which he does incidentally. But now rook d8, and because of the weak back rank, we can't take on c5. Black would give mate here, so we protect the bishop. This gives black time to even the pawn count with bishop takes c4. Carlsen protects the rook. This enables the bishop to move, so Caruana defends the pawn on c5 with pawn to b6. And now Carlsen goes for the trade, bishop to f4. Not much to do really. King takes d2. And at the moment, okay, there's a small chance for white to press, because you can put the bishop here and then start pawn hunting, because all these pawns will be on this diagonal. So Caruana played a6, sort of preemptively expecting the move bishop to b8. a3. Yeah, I want to go back a few moves because there was a funny moment here. It seems like some people thought of it, I thought of it as well, that well, Caruana is the first challenger from the United States since Bobby Fischer, so why not channel your inner Bobby and go for bishop takes h2, 8-2. Very similar to Bobby's bishop takes h2 against Spassky in game 1 of the 1972 World Championship match. But yeah, that's the way the cookie crumb. And obviously Caruana didn't go for that. It's well known, like in the Bobby game, your bishop is going to get trapped, even though you're playing this. I have time for this. What do I? Hang on a minute. c4. Yeah, I had to pause the recording and come back. Sort of, well, helping to babysit in a way. Yeah, so we were looking at the similarity with the Fischer-Spassky game 1. And here, yeah, even if c4, you have king c3, and you have this trick, king b2 here. And you can't take, I take your piece, and I'm in time to cover the pawn. But yeah, back to the game, a6, a3. And there really isn't much to play for here. It's opposite colored bishops, no particular weaknesses. Incidentally, black does lose a pawn here after bishop c7, b5, but he doesn't really care. This is such an easy position to hold. Now he just puts the pawns on light squares. h5, king e3, king d7, king d4, and g6. And this is sort of opposite to what we've been talking about, the Capablanca rule. The Capablanca rule, you put your pawns on squares that are opposite to your bishop. Here you put it on the same color complex because you want to defend them and you don't want them attacked. So the situation changes depending on your pieces. But here it's just so hard for white to do anything. Carlsen did mention an endgame between Lyubojevic and Karpov, which was an opposite color bishop endgame. But there Karpov was pressing with 3 against 2 with where these two pawns here were much deeper in the position. So some similarities, but not enough for this to be any threat of a win. But Carlsen did play on here, trying to press a little bit. Bishop to f8, king c6, b3 by Carlsen. He wants to make a passed pawn eventually, and he can only do so on the queen side, so he plays c4. Takes and takes. So now we have a passed pawn, but of course the problem is an opposite colored bishop endgame. So you can't dislodge a piece from the square opposite of your bishop. If the king wants to stay there, he will stay there. I'm not going anywhere. And you can't make him. So c5. bishop e6. So the only way to win these positions is to make two weaknesses. So pass pawn c5. You have to get a pass pawn on the other side as well, so you can discoordinate the forces of your opponent and force him to surrender either through one pawn or the other. But here it seems like it's simply not possible. Certainly that did not stop Carlsen from trying. He played king g5, g4. So his idea, okay, he's pressing, threatening to take here, and if you allow me to take, I will be up 2 pawns, and now I will have another pass pawn on the h file. So naturally Fabiano took. But the idea of, well, Carlsen does, you know, break his pawns apart here, but he had an idea. And, you know, at lower levels, white might have fallen for it after h4, bishop to b3, f4, bishop to a2, king e7, bishop b3, a little bit of back and forth, and then the final try, but it's not enough. If you take, you're losing. This is not what Fabiano did. I can push the pawn, I can also just block here. You're not in time to either come to this diagonal to stop h5 with the next move, and yeah, wherever you go, I'll play h5, and again, you can't reach these squares, your pieces are in the way. So let's say here, you're too late. The pawn will queen. But of course, Fabiano knows how to defend and did not take, played bishop to b1. And Carlsen played bishop f2. Another trick, if you take, I can play h5. And now I can win. So let's say you take, which Fabiano didn't do. I'll play h5. And of course you can't take, I take a bishop, and I have 2 pawns. If I only had this pawn, it would be a draw because it's the wrong rook pawn. We already talked about that in one of the games. I will still link to the pattern recognition video about the wrong rook pawn. h5, if the bishop now moves, I'll play h6. Okay, you're in time to stop the pawn, but yeah, I can simply take and come back. And okay, this king is stuck to this pawn, and I will simply now come back here, and then here, push the pawn, win it, and our bishop is blocking this pawn, so the extra pawn is enough. But yeah, Fabiano of course avoided this, simply played bishop c2, just keeping the tension. So now white has a choice, he can take this pawn, but then I'll take with the bishop, and you no longer have h5. So if you take, this is the final position, we're just looking at possibilities from the final position. If you play here, I will take the pawn, and you no longer have h5 because the bishop is not attacked. So, and if you move it now, I'll move the bishop away. The other option is, yeah, if you take, I will not take with the bishop because this allows white to play here and push the pawn. I will simply take with the pawn, which is now defended by the bishop, and this covers the h pawn, so white doesn't have enough to win. We already mentioned we can't dislodge this guy, so what we have is a dead draw on the board. So yeah, this was game 11. Only one game to go. So I don't know. I might even be rooting for Fabi. I mean, I was rooting for Carlsen before the tournament and during the match, but this is his effort with white have been very, very poor, to say the least. Maybe Fabiano is just this unbelievably well prepared, but feels like the world champion should be able to put some pressure on with the white pieces. But yeah, for you Americans, this is the time to shine. One game, one shot, one opportunity, you know, to get all the marbles. You have the white pieces for the world championship. This is your moment to shine. If you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? This is when you trained your whole life. You trained your whole life for this moment. You better step up to the plate, son. So yeah, we'll see. If you get a short draw tomorrow, I'll be so disappointed. But please, you know, Fabiano, make it a game. You know, take your shot. That's what the chess world wants. It's what the chess world needs. So yeah, I'll see you. The last game is on Monday. It's a rest game tomorrow. And if needed, the tie breaks will be on Wednesday. So stick around for some tactics, and I'll see you in the next video.